In March of 2021, President Uhuru Kenyatta assigned a task force to review the terms of the power purchase agreements that the Kenya Power and Lighting Company had entered into. This was after a public outcry on the high cost of electricity in Kenya. The report released in September 2021 raised more questions than answers, and need I mention that this was the fourth task force in 4 years assigned to review these agreements between KPLC and the private investors. Which begs the question, are we as a public just being managed with no actual intention to fix the power sector? Welcome to Wanjiko's Eye. Hi and welcome back. My name is Susan Wanjiko. I'm the founder of Wanjiko's Eye. And here I discuss the relationship between economic development and governance so that you can understand, engage, and influence the matters that affect you and I. Now, in September of 2021, President Uhuru Kenyatta gave an order to have the cost of electricity reduced by 33% after the report on the review of power purchase agreements was released. But we'll see that there are many factors contributing to the high cost of electricity in Kenya. And I'll do this economic analysis in 3 segments so that it's not too long. I'll begin by giving a background and in particular why affordable power is important, how we plan for power as a country, and where we get electricity from. In the end, you'll make your judgment as to whether cheap electricity in Kenya is a pipe dream or if it's doable. So who is the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, also known as KPLC? KPLC is a power utility company and a state-owned enterprise in Kenya that's mandated to sell power to households and to businesses. They operate as a commercial enterprise, meaning they're expected to be self-sufficient, make a profit, reduce their costs, and maximize shareholder value as they carry out their mandate of selling and distributing power. The original idea of KPLC was that they would be responsible for making electricity in Kenya accessible, affordable, and reliable, but of late, the reality has been the opposite. So why is affordable and reliable power so crucial? Kenya has a wonderful blueprint for economic and social development, whose aim is to create a globally competitive and prosperous country with a high quality of life by 2030. It also aims to transform Kenya into a newly industrializing middle-income country, providing a high quality of life to all its citizens in a clean and secure environment. This is the Kenya Vision 2030, which has 4 pillars. One of them is the economic pillar, under which they established that a thriving manufacturing sector would contribute to the economic and social development in Kenya. And this is also where President Kenyatta got his key priority areas for the Big 4 agenda, and manufacturing is one of them. Now, there are numerous opportunities for manufacturing in Kenya because Kenya mainly exports products and commodities in their raw form, and then they're imported back into the country as more expensive value-added products. And coffee is a common example for this. So there's a lot of potential for manufacturing in agriculture, textiles and leather, mining, metals and minerals, oil and gas exploration, processing agricultural produce and waste, and assembling light electronics, etc. Now, the main reason why this conversation on manufacturing takes center stage is that not only will it create many jobs for those working in that particular company, but also across the value chain because businesses do business with each other. For example, if a company manufactures tea bags, it will have to buy tea from the farmers. It will also need packaging material. It will need marketing services from marketing agencies to create awareness of their products. And they'll also need distributors, etc. So through that interaction, businesses grow, new ones come up, thousands of decent jobs are created in the process, people earn an income, and as a result, at the bare minimum, people can afford the basics of life. So food, housing, healthcare, etc. Remember, an economy consists of many different units that depend on each other. So the goal of the Big Four agenda was to have 1 million new jobs in the manufacturing sector, and that's excluding the impact it will have on other sectors. It's very ambitious, very doable, but it has to be very intentional. And because we are here, I want to highlight some very innovative young Kenyans to show that there's potential in this manufacturing space beyond what we are used to, and they also contribute to solving some environmental and social challenges. First, we have the students from Kenyatta University who invented a prototype for low-cost ventilators during COVID, and at a time when the entire world was facing a shortage of ventilators. Then we also have Nzambi Mate, who is converting plastic waste to bricks, therefore contributing to environmental conservation.
As I like saying, you have to be true to your why. Why are you doing this? What is the motivation behind it? For me, I was just tired of being in the sidelines of seeing plastic. I ideally jumped in off a cliff without even a parachute. I was building it as I was falling down. But isn't that how great things are done? So here in Nairobi, we generate about 500 metric tons of plastic waste every single day, and only a fraction of that is recycled. We decided, what more can we do? Instead of just sitting in the sidelines and complaining, companies have to pay to dispose the waste. So we solve their problem. The waste essentially comes for free. This is the plastic waste we get from factories. With this, we mix with sand, as the plastic is like the binder. We have 3 machines. The extruder does the mixing of plastic waste with sand at very high temperatures, and then the press compresses it.
Third, we have Michael Otieno, who is solving the water hyacinth problem in Lake Victoria by using water hyacinth to make eco-friendly bags. Then we also have David Gathu and Moses Kiuna, who created robotic prosthetic arms to help disabled people and to combat electronic waste in the process.
We didn't continue to university due to financial constraints. As you all know, the birds of the same feathers flock together. We combined our efforts and started solving the challenges facing the community. Either in energy security, we are diverse.
Their main aim being to help persons living with disability in the society.
System under self-testing. Testing the chest interface devices. 1. Phone call connections. Check.
1 million people living without an arm or a leg in Kenya. So that's when we started discussing, and we went to the practical form about it, on how can we help them in aiding their mobility, in aiding their day-to-day activities.
This saw them come up with this prosthetic arm that receives commands from the brain just by the user thinking of what they want the arm to do.
The arm that we have is a prosthetic arm, which the way you think, when we have a BCI gadget that you will put in your head, so the way you think, it will act according to it. If you think to lift your hand, it will lift the hand. If you think to wave or to move the arm from left to right, it will do according to your desire.
There's also Roy Alela, who invented a prototype of smart gloves which converts sign language into audio to help those with speech and hearing impediments. And then obviously we have the Juakali artisans who have been around for the longest time. All these and many others have the potential to grow into manufacturing plants and to export their products globally if and only if the environment is conducive for them to grow. And one of the things that's an impediment to growth is a high cost of doing business. What you do not want is businesses and these guys executing the ideas in another country to reduce their costs, because they'll be creating economic opportunities for the people in those countries. So don't think Kenya is lacking of innovation and creativity. We just lack leaders with the values, the motivation, the competence, and the discipline to drive the vision, and sometimes some interference from global politics. So with that in mind, it's impossible to achieve this industrialization dream in Kenya if the cost of electricity remains high. Why? Electricity is a major input in manufacturing. So if the cost of power is high, it creates a disabling business environment. by reducing profits, and as a result, businesses can't grow and expand. In actual sense, there will be no incentive to do business. On the other hand, if electricity is affordable, it creates an enabling business environment because companies can make more profit, which they use to grow and expand, and in turn, employ more people in the process. Nonetheless, it's important to know that KPLC does not generate the power that they sell to you. So how does KPLC get its power? KPLC buys power from 3 sources: Kenya Electricity Generating Company, also known as KenGen, independent power producers, also known as IPPs, and importing power mainly from Uganda and Ethiopia. So briefly, KPLC uses power purchase agreements, which is a 15 to 20-year contract binding KPLC and the company that has been contracted to generate electricity. Ideally, these contracts are determined by the expected changes in demand for electricity or how much electricity is expected to be consumed in the short or in the long term. So how do we plan for electricity in Kenya? As a rule of thumb, when it comes to supplying electricity in a country, you need to have a reserve. That supply should exceed demand, but not so much. And the reason for that is just in case of maintenance or a breakdown in the system, or if there's a spike in demand in the short term, there won't be power outages in the country. A good example is how we use electricity in our houses. So during the day, the adults are at work and the kids are in school, so not much electricity is consumed in the house. But in the evening, when everyone is at home, many appliances are being used at the same time. So that's an example of a change in demand in the short term. So the global recommended reserve is 15% more than the electricity consumed on average, but Kenya's current reserve is double that at 30%. In addition to that, there's an issue in how we plan for our electricity needs as a country. Essentially, what would guide the number of power purchase agreements that we need and the amount of electricity they generate is the time of day when our electricity consumption is the highest, also called peak demand, and the demand forecast. That's how much energy do we expect Kenyans to consume, like in 1 year or in 3 years or in 5 years. So increasing demand for electricity looks like these situations. For example, you get more money, you decide to buy a radio, or you choose to buy tokens from Kenya Power instead of switching to solar, or you become less cautious about how much electricity is being consumed in your house, like leaving a socket on or the lights on even when you don't need them doesn't give you a heart attack because of the bill you know you'll receive at the end of the month. Then in the case of businesses, we end up having more companies in manufacturing who get their electricity from KPLC. So if you notice what I've said, the increase in demand for electricity from KPLC is pegged on your disposable income. How much extra cash do you have to spend on electricity and electrical appliances and not switching to alternatives? Or companies can grow to a point where they can buy electricity in bulk and still remain a profitable business. Now, there's a huge problem when it comes to how we forecast our demand for electricity because it's pegged on how we expect our economy or GDP to grow. Like if GDP will grow by this much, so the demand for electricity will grow by X amount. Remember, as I introduced the topic, I stated that high cost of electricity makes it expensive and difficult to do business, so it stifles economic growth and vice versa. Therefore, electricity has to be cheap first, and only then will businesses grow and more people will get employment, and then the demand for electricity will grow. So the cost of electricity is a driver of economic growth and not a follower of economic growth. So the current approach is misleading, and I would not be surprised if this inaccuracy is by design to justify and lead us to our current situation, which is the power supply is way more than what Kenyans need. And obviously it has financial implications on you and I as a citizen, which leads me to my next section, the independent power producers. In the next video, I will break down what are IPPs, what's the justification for IPPs, and what are the main issues arising from using these independent power producers. If you found this video to be useful, make sure to give it a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.